You've heard of the Wolf of Wall Street. You know how bad Wall Street was in the 1980s. Well, my dad was in finance, but he was giving golden retriever gamer boyfriend vibes long before we had a name for it. None of you believed me when I told you that story of him being taken to a brothel, and he demanded actual massage services. When I told my parents that nobody on the internet believed that story was real, and they laughed, and my mom said, "Remember how you were walking that week?" But people who remember my dad in that business will know that that's the truth. I think part of the reason he got sent to Asia in the first place was because the New York office didn't really understand that he was just more patient with the Asians coming in, because it was the 80s. So Japan was huge, the Japanese were always coming in, the Koreans, the Chinese, they'd come into the New York office, and my dad would be patient with them, and he'd handle their English being a little broken and talk with them, whereas no one else in the New York office would ever bother. And so a rumor went around that my dad spoke Asian. But at the time, a lot of these financial desks were involved in procurement, if you know what I mean. Entertainment also meant providing a guest for the evening. And my dad put his foot down. He was like, no, we're not doing that. And they lost a lot of clients because maybe his predecessor had done that. Who knows? And they also gained a lot of clients. Suddenly, women started calling his office. For the most part, the Wolves of Wall Street wouldn't really associate with my father. If they had a client that didn't want to be wined and dined, didn't want to have procurement services done for them, they sent him my dad's way. But sometimes he still had to deal with them a little bit. He tells a story once of this guy that he worked with. This New Yorker would look at the people around him and they'd single somebody out that he just decided he didn't like on sight. And he'd hand his victim a drink and he'd be like, "Oh, look at these poor schmucks. They probably make $68,000 a year, think they're living on top of the world, buying cheap suits made of polyester." My dad would glance at the victim's suit and the victim's suit would be made of polyester. They think they're on top of the world because they've just been promoted to second VP of regional operations. Oh, they should be earning twice that and would be at any other company if they just did their research. Gosh, these guys. They're such fools. So, what's your title? Well, funny you say that. I'm a second VP of Midwestern operations. He tried and cut the conversation short and move on. Meanwhile, my dad turned to this guy and said, "You have to know he's making about $68,000, right?" And the New Yorker was like, "Of course." Well, although my dad's job took us all around the world, my mom still swore up and down that if he ever moved us to New York, she'd divorce him.